Welcome Veggie Channel viewers, my name is Nancy.
My name is Bettina and we are co-founders of the association Sfizi di Natura,
where we promote an animal-free, cruelty-free vegan lifestyle. Today we're going to show you a delicious recipe. It's a vegan panettone and we have the expert here. Now Bettina, I love panettone, but since I became a vegan I can't eat them anymore. Help.
Okay, so I've just come up lately with a really good, tasty recipe. I'm going to show you if you'd like to.
Can't wait, let's get started.
Okay, let's get started. So the first ingredient is 500 grams of white flour. I just took a soft wheat
Like
at
a
a
zero. Okay,
No, I took a zero. Zero is enough. Now we'll add 300 grams of Manitoba flour. That's perfect. Then we'll add 50 grams of cornstarch. The cornstarch is going to bind all the ingredients and make it hold the shape better.
Really? Okay.
The same applies to the Manitoba flour. It's a special flour that's typically used for brioche or croissants. So you know that texture, it's very airy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we're going to add 300 grams of brown sugar. You choose how sweet you want your panettone. I don't like it too sweet. This is 300 grams gives you a medium sweet panettone. Okay, that's perfect. So if you're not too attached to looks, you use the darkest kind of sugar, the tastiest. It will also influence, of course, the taste. It will predominate. Now we add a tiny bit of salt.
And you use unrefined sea salt.
That's correct. You take a large pinch.
Healthier.
We're going to use some vanilla.
Now this is pure vanilla seeds.
Yes. If you like the yellow color because it makes it look richer, we can add just a pinch of turmeric. So just a little pinch.
Like maybe a quarter teaspoon.
Yeah, it's very little that we need. We're going to use a lemon and an orange that you're going to grate.
Okay.
I'm going to start mixing all the dry ingredients. And while you're doing that, I'm going to prepare the soy milk.
Okay.
Warm it up.
Great.
I'd like you to try and see the temperature.
Okay.
One way of tasting, making sure that the temperature of your soy milk is okay, is dropping a little bit milk on the inside of your hand.
Like for babies' bottles.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it should be the same temperature as your body temperature. This tells you that the yeast is going to work perfectly.
Okay.
Now if you want to give me some of the yeast,
Okay. 1 cube.
I need 1.5 little cube.
Okay.
You crumble it.
Now what happens if the milk is too warm or too cold?
Well, the yeast won't work. If it's too cold, it won't work. If it's too hot, it kills the power of the yeast that makes it the whole flour raise. Now, if you pass me the lemon zest and put it in here.
In the flour?
Yes. And now we're going to mix it one more time. Make sure all the yeast gets out. Now I've just gathered all the flour that sucked up basically the soy milk. I'm going to use some margarine.
Non-hydrogenated.
Yes, of course. Okay. I'm ready to transfer the dough onto the table. We start working this dough. It's very rough. It doesn't have much consistency. We'll work it for quite a bit. Here again, it depends on the flour. Why don't you start kneading it now so you have a sense?
Knead the dough. It feels very different because it's wetter and it has more grease.
Yes.
Fatter.
So if you let me work it, I'll show you some of the kneading techniques.
Please do.
Okay, you don't want the dough to stick on the table, but you use a minimum of flour because if you put too much flour at once, it will dry out. So it's important that you find a low table, that you don't try to work the dough up here because you have no power. You use your body weight to really work this dough. and you plant the palms of your hands into the dough. The general rule is they say 5 to 10 minutes. It depends. When I use spelt flour, I sometimes need it less because it has more gluten, is more elastic. I usually use organic flour too. It's a better quality flour overall.
Yeah.
Okay, Nancy, are you ready to try this?
I'll give it a try.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's a lot more elastic.
It's ready now. So now that you have this feeling, you can make a ball, gather it in a ball, and put it in a deep platter.
Okay,
so
this
rise.
is where it's going to rise for 12 hours.
Yes, and then we cover it with a cloth, a clean cloth.
Okay.
Okay, so here's our panettone. Et voilà!
Voila!
We
Wow,
take
it's
our damp
big.
cloth off. It rose overnight.
Wow, it's gotten big.
Yes, it did. I would say it doubled or tripled its size. With the Manitoba flour, it really keeps its shape.
Okay.
It doesn't collapse on itself like some other breads would.
And look, it's taken on a nice golden hue.
Yes, it's beautiful. So our next step now is I'm going to rework that, but first we need to get the raisins going. We're going to integrate raisins. Some people add candied fruit as well, or they add pieces of chocolate, dark chocolate. So you can vary. I like the ones with raisins best. So what we need to do is you squeeze the raisins as dry as possible. And you can put it on flour. We don't want wet dripping raisins in the middle of our flour. And bear in mind when you add the raisins or candied fruit or chocolate, it will make your panettone sweeter. Here again, make sure at this point not to have too much flour on your table. The dough was just right.
Can you easily double the recipe since there's a lot of work if you make 2 or 3
you can,
at a time?
yes. And what I like too is use different shapes. I wouldn't advise you to take the biggest shape possible because let's face it, it doesn't have any eggs in it. So the structure may be a little bit strong. So we really want it not to be too big, the shape. And I'm going to show you the ones I'm going to use later.
So I'm mixing the raisins so that they're coated with flour.
Okay, that's good enough. Just now take the excess flour off. And I start kind of opening up the dough.
So now you're going to put the raisins and incorporate that in the...
Okay, so they're the good consistency. You can help me put them on top. Those are lots of raisins.
Lots of raisins. The kids are really going to love it.
Next one, I'll make a chocolate for you, okay?
Oh, yes! Thank you. I'm going to go home and make one for my in-laws. That will surprise them. Now, why not put the raisins when you first start to raise the dough?
It has to do with the absorption of liquid. The raisins are dry. They may discolor the dough. So now I think we have about half. Could you please cut this in two with your handy dandy chopper?
One for you and one for me.
That's wonderful. Okay, so now that we've cut it, you see it's a little bit wet. So if it were to stick, use the spare flour that we have on the table. We need to roll it well. Try to make it so the raisins are a little bit everywhere. Then form a ball and deposit it in your shape.
Understood.
And you want to make sure when you fold it in two that the top doesn't have too many raisins because the raisins tend to dry up or even burn. You see, this one is about good. So I make a nice clean shape at the top. Deposit it in the... If everything goes well, and it should, it's going to grow above the rim. And form like a little mushroom.
Got it.
Okay.
Like a chef's hat.
A chef's hat, yeah. So what we're going to do is, because this is not risen yet, this flour, we're putting it directly on the grate that we are later going to put in the oven. So we don't need to fiddle with this. Yeah, exactly, the rising. So we put it like here.
Is this okay?
Yes. We're going to cover it with a cloth again.
Okay.
We'll take it to the oven. Now we let this sit for about 3 to 6 hours.
Okay. Does it need to be someplace warm or without draft, or?
Well, usually it should. The best is constant temperature.
Okay.
I tend to keep my environment on the cool side in winter time. So I'll just let it sit like that. You can just wait and it will raise. It will just take longer. That's
so
the
if
thing.
it's a colder temperature, that takes longer.
Yes.
But if it's warmer temperature, say maybe put it in the sun or something like
yeah,
that?
you may be able to shorten it.
Okay.
But don't push the dough too much.
Okay.
It's better if it rises slowly and for a long time rather than fast and all at once.
Steady.
Slow and
Like
steady.
life.
Okay.
Okay.
So here we are ready. We're going to take that to the kitchen. In 3 or 4 hours, we're going to put the oven on.
Okay.
We're going to preheat the oven for 10-15 minutes or until it reaches 150 degrees Celsius. What I would suggest is that you put this grate at the very bottom of the oven because it will rise. And it tends to burn because it will grow. So it needs to be the very last position, lowest position. Then what you can also do is cover it with an aluminum foil so that it won't burn. Basically, we take it out and try it. We put a little bit of soy milk.
Is that what gives it the glaze?
Yes.
Just straight soy milk with nothing else?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to put it in the oven now. I smell the perfume.
Here it is.
What happened to the other one?
Well, the kids ate it.
Oh, those rascals.
Yeah,
wow.
Isn't it beautiful?
It's so nice and shiny. How did you do that?
So remember I told you at the very end, you just take a little bit of soy milk and you put it on top with a regular brush.
At the very end?
Yes.
Only at the very end?
Yes, and very little, and then it dries up and gives you this beautiful glaze.
Oh my God, I can't wait to try it.
Okay, here it is.
We're going to enjoy our panettone, and we thank you for being with us on Veggie Channel. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.